Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Operation Miss podcast, where we bring lovely people on so that the audience, the lovely ladies listening, can learn how to prepare for every phase of womanhood, whether they are showing up to pregnancy, already pregnant, 20 years post delivery. There are tips and tricks that we can get from other women, and we just want to learn them. And it's also for healthcare providers so that they can hear the stories of the ladies on the podcast and learn how they can better intervene and support. And so that is, I am a woman, a mom, and a healthcare provider. And so I'm always learning from the ladies who come on. So, Dom, we are so happy to have you here today. Can you please introduce your lovely self to our listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine, for having me. I too am super excited to be here. I am Dominique Hamilton, affectionately known as Dom. I am a mommy of two beautiful, beautiful little girls and a wife to my amazing husband, Elijah, a daughter, a sister, a friend, all the things. And I do have a business called Dance Connect Worldwide. But before that, I had Queendom Moves. And that's what I wanted to share a little bit about today and how it has morphed and shifted through my journey of motherhood. And
Yeah, so when I met you, you were pregnant and just glowing and yeah, amazing. Looked so beautiful. And now you have a sweet baby, two sweet babies. And I would love for you to just kind of talk us through your journeys, maybe your first journey first, and then how it differed from your second journey and why.
absolutely. So my first baby girl, Miss Genesis Hamilton, she was named by her grandmother, a biblical name, of course, Genesis, the first book, because she was our first child and new beginnings for us. I think that she shifted our dynamic, me and my husband. Completely. We met, we were both single in Chicago, living our best lives, moving and grooving on the scene. We both had our own business, just living a dream. We were traveling a lot. And then I got pregnant, and then we got married, and everything happened so quickly. And then we moved. This all happened in a span of maybe 2 months. So, yes, it was funny. After I launched our current business, Dance Connect Worldwide, the next day, I found that I was pregnant because we celebrated that launch. We had a few,
Okay.
so we celebrated. I kept the next morning. I'm like, I know I don't have a hangover. I don't really get hangovers anymore, but I'm feeling really sick. So I kept throwing up. And then lo and behold, I was with child. And so we said, okay. So we launched one baby, and then I had a real one in me. So that was interesting. So that happened. And then something in his spirit kept telling him that we needed to move out of Chicago. Didn't know what, but he said it's time to move. And so 9 months happened, and he wanted me to move that summer. I launched in April. So that summer, June, July, the goal was for me to head out to his hometown where he grew up in a small town called Owen, Illinois, from Southern Illinois, and start a family there. Didn't happen as planned. I ended up staying 8 months in Chicago. We both did because we had so many pots boiling and work that it was hard to make the shift as quickly. So we had our baby shower in November. We moved in November. We got married in November. And then we had the baby in December. So my hair was like coming out of my head. It was just a lot of move. And I was pregnant. So I was emotionally a little imbalanced and just trying to figure things out. But I was holding it together in my way of holding it together. And I was trying to show up and still be on top of everything. But it was just really, really difficult because things were moving so quickly. And I felt like I was leaving my family, my tribe that I had built in Chicago to go to this new place where I was by myself. I didn't know anybody. And back home, he had his mom and his sister lives there, but that's it. So, but compared to what I had in Chicago in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, how am I going to do this in this new place? So all of that happened. So I was stressed nonetheless. I was very stressed. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, no, I got it together. I got it together. It's fine. But I was not fine by any means. So the day I went into labor, my mom in love had an incident. It was it was like a winter storm or something that was happening out. that day, and the roads are really bad, and we live out on the countryside, so it's difficult to navigate that in the middle of a winter storm. Like, you don't want to be driving out there where we are. But she had an episode, and we had to call the ambulance come and get her, and then I started having contractions. So that was happening at the exact same time. So they're trying. So Elijah, my husband, is like, my mom doesn't know who we are right now because I don't know if she failed. We still don't know what happened exactly, but she lost her memory. We walked into the house, and she's like, "Who are you?" And so he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm trying to talk her like, "Hey, I'm your daughter-in-law. I'm pregnant." And she's like, "Pregnant?" And we're like, "Mom, are you okay?" And she's like, "Who are you?" So that was just a lot. So I'm tearing up. I'm like, "What's going on with my mom?" And then I'm calling Elijah, like, "Come over here right now. She's not well." And then I started having contractions. And so we're like, "How are we getting ready to do this?" So we call the ambulance. So they come and get her, and they take her to the hospital. And luckily, my sister in love, she was home. So she followed her. And then Elijah took me, and my mom and grandmother, it's coming back to memory now, they were home too, with us, because they had came down to be with me while I was getting ready to go into labor. So they were there. They traveled with us to the hospital. So eventually my mom in love ended up coming out of that state, thankfully, and she came to the hospital too that same day, and she was fine. She kind of was slowly getting her mind back. But that was all the drama behind it. And thankfully, I had an amazing doula, Chastity May. She is phenomenal. You met Chastity. She is phenomenal, phenomenal. And she just breathe in, breathe out. That's what we did the whole time at the hospital. And it actually was beautiful. Like, once I got in her hands and saw her, that process, it shifted. Yeah, everything was like, "Okay, you got this. Just breathe in, breathe out." She would rub me like, "It's okay, it's okay." And so the birth actually was beautiful. It was. I remember it wasn't like super painful like everyone describes it. I had a beautiful experience birthing my child. I did tear a little bit, and they had to stitch me up. That was a little painful, but once I saw her, of course, your whole world changes, and we were all head over heels, and it was like a beautiful ending to that story. So that was my first one. But then once we got home, I was still trying to figure out the balance. My mom and grandmother stayed with me for about 2 weeks, so that was extremely helpful. And then when they left, of course, you get a reality check, like, "Oh, this is what it feels like." So that happened, and I think just through Genesis, I was just constantly trying to figure out, how do I show up as a really good wife, because I was a new wife, and cook and clean and do all the house things, because I was an at-home mom, and then still trying to work my job and have this new baby. It was just hard. When I got pregnant, the second go round was for shortly after. We were like, "Oh goodness, we pregnant again." you know. But we ended up being really excited about it, and we had worked so many things out through conversation. With the first one, we said, "Look, the second one gonna be a little bit different." So second pregnancy happened, and I had a miscarriage. Though we were really excited for a while, but I miscarried, so that was hard for us. But we got through that. Then I got pregnant again. And then this one, of course, made it to the end. That's Eden Ivory. And that pregnancy was so different. At this point, I was in home at this, we had already moved. So I was in Ellen now for a little over a year. So I had my bearings, I had a system in place. I called off from work 2 months before I had her. And that was like unheard of. I'm going on leave early just to get my mind and spirit right and my
Yes.
body ready for her. And I didn't know what to do in the beginning. I was going stir crazy. I'm like, what do I do? I'm not working. I just had this time to just sit, like, how do people, what is this? It was new, it was different. But I did it, and I'm so thankful I did it. Towards the end, I finally started to be a little bit more intentional about my time and started to just prepare for her to come, whether it was getting her clothes together, doing the nursery room, not feeling rushed, just laying down sometimes and just resting, in my prayer closet all the time. And it was just beautiful. It was really, really beautiful bringing her in, because I was almost like, well, when is she coming? I'm just sitting here relaxing now. When is she going to be here? Genesis came early, go figure. And then Eden came late because she was chilling. She was, this is comfortable. She didn't want to come out. But when I had her, it was so beautiful. My doula Chastity I wanted to have a home birth. And I didn't, because we couldn't afford the midwife at the time, and she was like really expensive. I was like, it costs that much, to have a midwife? It was like 8,000. I was like, oh. well, we want to have it, but we're gonna work up to that. So I said, but she said, but you can birth at home. She said you can do the pre-labor as long as you want at home. And then when we think it's time, we'll rush to the hospital. I said, okay, cool, let's do that. So my pain tolerance is kind of high. So I birthed at home for a while, actually, pre-labored at home. And it was beautiful. Like, I don't know, it was just so beautiful. I remember doing a lot of praying beforehand. Like, I want this to be a joyful experience. I know it'll be painful physically, but I want it to be joyful. I want to feel them when they come. I'm just gonna breathe through it, and that's what I did. Every time I had a contraction, I just breathed through it, and it was lovely. Like, I did it in my room for a while. I remember sleeping, in the bed for a little bit. The same day I had her, had my music going, my oils going. Elijah took Genesis, my first child, and kind of kept her away while I had that moment to myself. And I was like, well, I want to go there with my family. And I came out in the living room for a bit, and we watched a movie that same day together. And Genesis, she was rubbing on my belly, like, my sister is coming. So it was just so beautiful. I'm telling you. And then when it got a little bit to be like, oh, this is unbearable, I think it's time, I told him. He gave me my little pillow. I held on to it. We hopped in that car. We gave Genesis to my mom in love, who was across the street. And we went to the hospital. Chastity, my doula, met us there. I went in. I think I was already dilated quite a bit. I forget how much, but enough to get me in the room. We went in the room, and I had her in like less than 30 minutes. And when I say it was so, I can't say painless because you feel it. But I had did so much research prior about the breathing techniques. And I remember ripping last time, and I said, this time, God, I don't want to tear because it was so painful. I said, how can I not tear? And it has lots to do with how you push. Like if you're pushing and squeezing and forcing it out, that's kind of when you rip. So it's like if you breathe through it, even when they tell you, like they're screaming at you, push really hard. It was like, don't, like just push. But you have to push hard. Just push intentionally to get the baby out. And that's what I did. I just, and it didn't hurt. Like I literally, it's just beautiful. I remember feeling it like, oh, she's coming out. Like she's out, she's there. And it happened like just like this. And I didn't tear it off for the second baby at all. It was beautiful. And this time around, it was just Elijah and I there. And I kind of wanted it like that. I love my family, but they're a lot. Both sides of our family are a lot. That's a woman. I mean, big personalities, loud. Just kind of wanting to control the situation. And I said, this time I kind of only want to be with my doula and my husband. I said that to myself and to God. I didn't say it out loud, but he worked it out. So that's exactly how it was. And with Genesis, I had a full house. Like they tell you at the hospital, you can only have, I think, 2 or 3 in a room. I think it's 2. I don't know how those women got in there, but my mama was in there. My grandma was in there. My sister-in-law, my mama-in-law, everybody was in the room. And I remember telling Chastity, like, please tell them to be quiet. Like, I can't do my breathing. Like, they just laugh. So it was funny. Every time I had a contraction with Genesis, she would always say, look at them. Like, say she's okay. And she kept them at bay. But yeah, the second one was beautiful because it was just us in the room. And then they all came, of course, after to come and see us. And it was the next day. It was lovely, I have to say. So I know that was long, but those are my 2 journeys with my babies. Yeah, really beautiful. Really,
Oh
really.
my gosh. So first of all, the story is so good that I did not. It's almost like, how when you're listening to a sermon, you don't want to interrupt. You just want to take it all in. And I feel like I was learning so much as you were talking that I had no desire to interrupt you at all. It's so beautiful. I think that some people recognize what you recognized in your first experience, but then the second experience remains the same because they don't make any changes. And when you said, I was a new wife, and this happens so much, trying to be what you think a wife is supposed to be, cooking, cleaning, all the things, and you're forgetting about you. And that was me post delivery with my second child. And so I did it with my first, didn't change anything, but the second time it caught up with me. And that's how preeclampsia really got out of hand, when I think if I had done what you did the second time around, I would have had a better experience and outcome. And the neat thing is now I'm 4 years out, my daughter is 4. And because of what we started with Operation Mist with the watch, it's like I wake up sometimes and I'm like, okay, my body battery's at 65. I'll be able to do everything I want to do today. But if I wake up and it's 5 or it's 20,
Mm,
which is almost like a quarter of a tank of gas, I go right back in that bed and work from the bed. I don't have to get up and go run errands. It's like
absolutely.
we have this system now where I have a to-do list. And at the beginning of each day, I decide, am I going to do, delete, delay, or delegate? And so if it doesn't fall, whatever, my body is
That
going
on paper, I love that.
to well, I
Do,
mean,
delete, delay, or delegate.
or
Okay.
delegate. Because what I know I cannot do is run myself into the ground and not be present 20, 30, 40 years from now. Because in the immediate, like where I am now, I'm not pregnant. I'm not like, there's nothing to really stop me from going 110% all the time,
Yep.
except this. It lets me know, you know what, today is not the day. Or today is the day that you can rip and run, sun up to sundown. But listening to you, I just thought, I have two. I didn't make the switch like you did, and I paid for it. And so I love too when you said that you took the 2 months off early, and that's unheard of. We are fighting for that here in Georgia from a policy perspective, that women get maternity leave before they have their child, because everyone is running to delivery, trying to save all their time for after they deliver. But our bodies are working very, very hard during those last couple months of
Mhm.
pregnancy. And so while you didn't know what to do with your time, when I tell you your body was grateful, even if you had done nothing, you just, even if you never got a schedule together, you spending that time in prayer, resting your heart, your kidneys, your lungs, I mean, all of those things are working harder. And our heart, especially, started about week 20, is going to be working 50% harder for the rest of our pregnancy. And so if we change nothing externally, that means that our body is just working that much harder, because internally it's working hard and externally you've done nothing different to balance it out. And so your intentionality about listening to what God was telling you to do and to just do it without a plan, you just knew, I need to be prepared. It it made that experience better. And then, you know what I think is really beautiful? The first time around, your family got to experience being with you, seeing Genesis born, and that was beautiful. And the second time around, you got to just experience everything that's needed, really, for the delivery that you ended up having. Because I think so many people compromise because they want to please other people.
Absolutely.
And then you realize your family doesn't care. They're not going to be offended, right? They just want to be sure that they see that baby when it gets there. And so it was a win-win. And it's so beautiful how y'all made that happen. And then you having the same doula time one to time two. Doesn't that make all the difference in the world? Somebody who knows you, who loves you, who can help you assess from the first time and make some changes the second time, or keep some things the same. And I love how long you labored at home. When I tell you, when you really trust in your design and your designer, there's no rush to get to the hospital, right? What he created is on the inside of you. So it doesn't matter who you birth with, who your OB is, where you are. He is the one that's moving the process along. He always was, always is, always will be. And as long as there are stories like yours that are being told, Dom, this is what women need to hear. Because when you said it's not like people see on TV, right? It doesn't have to be so painful. It doesn't have to be so chaotic. They don't know that because people are not telling stories like yours. And the news is telling us all about the maternal mortality and how Black women are dying more. And as long as we keep hearing those narratives, we're going to keep doubting ourselves and birthing in the place, giving our faith to the place that
Mhm.
is causing our poor outcomes. We have to start trusting again in our design. And that's why when I hear stories like yours, I'm like, they have to be amplified, right? People have to know that you can only spend 30 minutes in that place and your baby is going to be
Mhm.
just fine because you were in your bedroom, in your safe space. When you said the pillow, I thought about it. What will the transition be like from that peaceful place at home to the hospital? Y'all already planned that out. You got your pillow, that kept your body and your mind in the same mindset as if you were at home. Then you get to the hospital and there is no delay, no plateau, no reversal of your progress. God just finished the process. But you placed your trust and your faith in Him. And it is so beautiful to hear what happens at the end of that story. You know, thank you for sharing. Oh my goodness. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we're postpartum now because when I was talking to you yesterday, honey, you dance production, right? So what has happened after this delivery? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So postpartum, right? So I took after I had her, I had still about a month or so left because I took off after 2. I was like, look, I need some time to kind of slowly get back into it. That's what it was. And thankfully, most of the folks I work with, I have a pretty solid relationship with. So I told them up front what I was looking to do, and they agreed. So they were all on board with letting me slowly and gradually get back into my role. So that happened with work. Now I am pretty much picking up gigs. So with Dance Connect Worldwide, it is a production and staffing house. So at the heart of what we do is big production. So that's your festivals, conferences, conventions, competitions, anything dance and art. I say too. I'll staff it and we put on the shows. Not just dance, but art too. So I promote the dance at the forefront. But if you want to I say staff or production crew. That's like your lighting, your sound designer, but also artists. We book out artists who are a part of our network. So if you need a live band to come and play at an event, I have those in our network too. So it's really beautiful. And I think my background being in dance and the arts, that was my way of giving back and staying connected to the art. So I love, love, love doing that. But because I can't always be on site for everything because of my new lifestyle, that's where the staffing piece came in. So I get to create on the production side, but then when I'm not able to be there, I have a whole team of folks that will go out depending on what you need and what areas you need to be serviced. So that's what Dance Connect is. I'm going to switch over to Queendom Moves because they are definitely connected, but Queendom Moves, I started way before I met my husband and had children, and that was my own platform and what I felt like was my purpose then, to help nurture women who were in the industry like me, but we had like minds and we were spiritually connected more than anything. And it was to keep us accountable to what our purposes were inside of the industry and all of the nuances of the industry, the craziness that happens. Just kind of keep us balanced, to keep our heads on straight so that we don't get sidetracked and distracted by all the nonsense, but that we just remain on our square. We know why we're in the room. They may be talking about this, but we're here for this reason, and we're here to shift this. So I'm trying to get back into that space. I met you with Mama's Pure Bond, which is a brand that my husband and I started together because like I said, I was struggling with Genesis, my first child, because I was stressed. So I wasn't able to produce enough milk for her. And that devastated me. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like you said, we're designed for this. And so I kept telling myself that with eating, like my body was created to produce this milk. But with Genesis, I was not telling myself that. I was, yeah, out of it. So I didn't produce enough milk for her. So my husband got a hold of this amazing doctor who created this breast milk enhancer. And we put a name on it, called it Mama's Pure Bond. And we were trying to drive that to other moms who might be struggling with not being able to produce enough milk. And so that's where I met you, and we kind of connected there. That didn't work out with the supplier, but I felt like I still needed to have that space for moms who were struggling, not just with breast milk production, but in general, with motherhood, that journey, people who are wives too, just having a space where they can come and talk and learn from each other. And especially working mommies, my hat goes off to moms who stay at home. It's a lot. It is a lot because you don't get a mental break. You don't get a mental break. And I was talking to a friend who's like, oh, you get a chance to be at home all the time. You don't have to leave and go and work. I'm like, no, I'm still working. I'm working with these kids. I'm working on top of my clients that I'm serving. I'm working. So it's like, it's a double whammy, and you really don't get a break. I don't get a chance to go out to the office or go out and for a meeting and get some fresh air for a second. It's like, no, I'm at home the entire time with my beautiful girls, but they are driving me nuts trying to take a call at the same time. You know, I one is literally breaking my TV and the other one is on my breath. I mean, it's a lot, you know, and so it's not as pretty as it looks. But it's okay because you know, you talked about God carrying us from the house to the hospital. That stuck with me, but that's how I felt. It's like He's carrying me through it, so it's okay. It's like you're designed for this, so we're gonna figure it out. Just kind of stay in it, and I'm catching my footing as I go. But I know what's most helpful for me is hearing other women's stories. Like you say, it's encouragement. Okay, you're on the right track. It's okay. You got this. Here are some tools to help you. Just keep on going. You can't stop your purpose, you know, but you can ask for help along the way. So me wanting to just create a space for women to come and to figure things out together. That's the space that I'm at right now. And still keep moving in your purpose. Like you can move in your purpose and still be a wife and still be a mom. And I'll say one last thing with that with Queendom Moves. Again, it's a spiritual movement. And what I found in most spaces, especially with society, they teach us work first, you know, family later. I go to school first and do family later and all those things. And now where I am, I think opposite. It's like my family is my nucleus. You know, God is first for me, then it's my family, and then my work will come. You know, and then you know, so your gifts and your talents will make room for you. So I'm not concerned about that. You know,
Yeah.
that's but I had my first purpose is to my family, like period. You know, and that's why I was able to take off those few months, and people were okay with it. It's like, oh, so all you have to do is say it, and they'll kind of just say okay. Sometimes, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for the people who I work with who can honor the decision and kind of respect what we're trying to build as a family. But I have to say that as a woman, as a Black woman, especially, like my family is first. Like I make sure that my husband is set. Because if my king is good, then I'm good. You know, like he gonna take care of us and make sure that we're covered. And same thing for my beautiful children. Like I have to continue to nurture them, and we want more. You know, so it's not gonna get easier. We just got to figure out how to manage what we have. But yeah, so that's the postpartum for me.
I love that. And, you know, when you said sometimes when you ask, people will say yes, I found that out very early in my career. And after my son, I went to work and I was so sad every day that I went to work. And after about a week, my husband was like, do you want to just go part-time? I was like, yeah, I want to pay off my student loans first, but yeah, I do want to go part-time. So I spent the next 11 months paying off my student loans. By the time he was a year old, I was part-time. But I went to my boss at that time and I said, look, I really want to go part-time. And I said, and I want to keep access to benefits just in case my husband ever loses his job. And she was like, we don't have a position like that, Catherine. I said, well, could you create one? Girl, she created that position, and that's what I was in after my son turned one bright. I said, I have to do this because I will not be able to function if I am giving all of my energy to other people and I have nothing left for my family. And I heard this lady, she said that someone else said it. So I know that she didn't originate with her, but she said, I'm gonna stop pouring from my cup and I'm going to start pouring from my saucer. So I'm going to make sure that I'm full and that I'm overflowing and I'm just giving from overflow. Right. And that made so much sense to me because we are always pouring, always. That's not going to stop. But can we make sure that we're okay? Yeah. And so can you tell me what does putting your husband first look like to you? Like, how are you able to make time for him, make time for your precious babies, make time for this amazing you did not even tell me the extent. So, and all the stuff that you are doing and all the lives that you're changing, production, our culture has to live, it has to continue, and you're doing that. When you said staff, I said, wow, that makes sense, right? That's part of it. You have to entrust other people to carry out your vision so that you don't have to be everywhere all the time. But can you tell us just a few tips? Because I know for me, I'm still trying to figure out the balancing act. Just some tips of how you're balancing
Yeah.
now or in plans for how to balance in the future.
My husband is a pretty self-sufficient man. I will say that. He is like type A personality. So something that to find my way. Like, how can I be his helpmate? And that's what the word said. It says, you know, we are their helpmate. We came out of their rib, like we're their, that's, you know, that's my, yeah, I have to serve them. So in that way, for him, sometimes just cooking a meal. It's not necessarily doing a whole bunch of things, but it's small things because he requires so little. He really does. Or it's just staying up with him and just talking to him, letting him do a dump for a second because he has a lot going on in his mind. So it's just staying up late. And I like my sleep. So I don't like to stay up super late. He knows that. But if I'm staying up late, this is my way of showing you, look, I love you. I know you got a lot on your plate. Talk to me. You know what I mean? Like he has shoulder issues sometimes, so it's me massaging it out for him at night, and he is so thankful. He's like, "Oh my God, you just lifted up a mountain," and I'm like, "All I did was, and I'm not even using my hand. We have a little massage gun. I can do this, But it's little things like that that take away some of his pressures. And I think being there for him spiritually and emotionally, especially as a Black man, is like it makes a world of a difference because often they don't have a soundboard. They do not, and so being that for him, I think is extremely helpful. Yeah, and I think in the way things move so quickly for our lives because we're both entrepreneurs, we're constantly on the go and we don't always have a lot of time to sit and connect. So we're super intentional about that. And I'm always screaming, all right, family meeting, when we gonna meet? Let's just sit down and say, hey, how are you? Are you okay? Are you good? Personally first, and then let's go into our work because we work together too on so many different fronts and with other clients, we partner a lot. So it's like, okay, what didn't you do that I can take on? I know that your load is heavy this week. So where can I close that gap up for you? And that took a while. I remember once he's like, I forget the word he used, but his company is called Synergy Biz Partners. And it's all about, finding that synergy and that flow with the other person. And so he's like, how didn't you catch that? He told me that one time. Like when I'm off, like in his mind, I would have thought you would have automatically picked up that load. Like I didn't think to have to tell you that. Like, I'm out of town. I'm not there. So if that's the case, I thought you were going to handle this at home. Like I'm not there. And I was like, at first I got defensive and I'm like, well, really, I'm doing all the other stuff. I wasn't thinking about your load. I still got my load too, even though you gone. I have to sit down and do self checks. And I'm like, I heard him after. And it's like, you know what? He's right. He like, why didn't I just jump in? And so now we kind of have that running inside joke between us, like when you're gone, I'm on, and vice versa. So nothing will ever get dropped. That's important anyway. Like we'll make sure that I'm gonna fill in your gap and you're gonna fill in mine. If you see I'm stressed, like I tell him running around the house with the kids, he knows now, all right, jump in. She needs help. Let me take one of the babies. Whereas before, he would be locked into his office. And I'm like, how don't you know to come out? Like you don't hear them? They're both screaming right now. And I'm getting ready to burst open and you got the door closed in your office, you know? I'm like, who does that? And so he's like, you know what, babe, I wasn't doing it intentionally. I just was locked in because he's thinking about providing, So in his mind, he's doing what he needs to do. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes we both have to be flexible inside of our work and how we support each other. And so this being a lot more intentional and instinctive about what we both need, being able to fill in gaps. And it's a work in progress. So we still have our weekly meetings because we need them sometimes 2 times a week just to say, hey, it's not working. We, rethink this model. And then also for him to mention delegation earlier, that's been huge because I know I can't fulfill everything for him. I'm now learning to put people in place that can so that he's still covered. So my mom in love, she loves to cook. That is her love language all day, every day. I love to cook too, but not like her. If I'm okay if I don't cook a night, especially if I have a lot going on. And before I used to feel like, no, I have to cook for my family. Why she always cooking and bringing stuff over? She think I can't cook for my. And I had to let that insecurity go. Like, no, this is literally her love language, one. And then secondly, she's trying to help. Like, don't feed the hand. So I had to stop that. And so now when she offers, I'm like, absolutely. Yes, we're hungry, all of us. It's something for the baby is different. Something for him that he likes, she'll put something special. I mean, because that's her thing, and I'm so thankful now. So now I know, okay, they're eating. Just because I lay my hands on the stove, it's okay. Everyone is eating still, and they're still taken care of. My sister-in-law will come over sometimes. I'm on a meeting, and he's on a meeting. And it's like, well, someone has to watch the baby right now because she's going crazy. She'll come over and just play with her for a minute. So I know for him, that eases his shoulders a little bit. Okay, that's taken care of. I don't have to think about that. So Yeah, we just kind of we've been playing around with some stuff, but using our support system and then doing that check-in is been like everything for him and for me. But that's kind of how I've been trying to show up for him more as a wife, not feeling like I can do everything, but making sure that the things that are most priority for him are covered, that they're taken care of, so he can go out and be the amazing man he is.
Yeah, I love that. I love the intentionality, number one. And when you said, the little things for them, for us, we know the little things are huge. And so I love that. And then I love the use of your village. And for people listening, it doesn't have to be family, it can be anybody who you trust who
Mm.
is offering and genuinely wants to help, because that makes a huge difference. And not just practically, because things have to get done, but from a mental health standpoint, when you talked about stress and it impacting the ability for your body to produce milk, that is a real thing. And so if we can minimize stress in our lives, it's not just impacting that. We just did a talk, or I just did a talk on the impact that stress has on blood pressure, blood sugar, and intimacy. And so it is very hard for the brain to release the hormones that are needed, for the organs to release the hormones that are needed to control three very vital processes in our bodies. And so if we can do anything to offload stress, that is priority number one, so that you can keep everything in order, but also keep your health intact. And so I love those tips for me, because I think marriage, I listened to this guy the other day. It had to be 20 seconds that he was talking. And he said, people underestimate how much you miss your partner in marriage after you have children. And I think from a woman's perspective, if we're with our husband and our kids are happy, we're good, right? But for a husband, it's like, no, it was us first. We were a team first. And so
Yeah.
can we have some of that team, some of that team mentality? Because we think they should be a team player when it comes to helping us out with the kids and stuff. And they just need a team player for their mental health. When you said just for him to offload, because being a Black man is difficult in America. It's difficult everywhere, but it's difficult, we know, for our men here. And so I
Mhm.
love that. And so how many years have you been married now?
It's short. It just happened like 2 years now. Because remember, I told you with Genesis, it was like we got married, we had the baby, we moved. So it's only been, so we're still, I say we're still newlyweds. My mom was like, stop saying that. Y'all been married now. I'm like, no, it's still new. It is still,
Newlyweds forever. Keep that
look,
mentality. Yes. But the tips that you're sharing, that is what's going to carry you at year 7, we're at year 14. That's what carry you at year 14.
I
Yes.
did not know that.
Yes, and I'm taking notes from you so we can all learn from each other. Because
14?
14 years, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love. We have to schedule like a vacation, a couple's vacation. Seriously,
We would love that.
we
We
need
would
to
love that.
be
And we
around.
need that. Yes, all of us couples need that, because we used to host these sessions at our house twice a year, and we would watch a movie, and then it would be couples that are newlyweds to couples that have been married for 40, 50 years, and we would just talk about the movie, take lessons from it, and it carry us for the next 6 months, and we do it again, and we just keep learning, and we haven't done that in a while, so we'll have to do that.
Ooh, please,
And
we're signing up. We are
it's
there.
free. You said signing up, girl.
We are.
Come on. You can stay with us, okay? Because most of the people are local. So y'all just stay with us. It'll be great. Because I think that that's part of what we're missing and we haven't had a conversation about this on the podcast yet. And I just love how much insight you brought to the importance of the marriage or the partnership, or mom and dad just working together and being there for each other. Because without that, everything else falls apart. The system does not work with one person. I'm sorry. It does not work as well. That's what I'll say, with one person. We as Black women, we gonna make it work. So it will work,
Look,
but it doesn't have to work with us by ourselves.
oh, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm thinking about so many verses were coming up in my head, but like the first one we talked about peace, You know, the word says that he will give you peace beyond human understanding. So that stress
Mm.
is real, but it's spiritual for me. It's always goes back to like, where's your spirit at? If you don't have peace right here, it's gonna be chaotic. I don't care how many plans you put together. Like your spirit has to be right because you can be in the middle of chaos and still have a whole bunch of peace and still
Yes.
process milk. You know what I mean? Like, because you may not be able to control your environment every time, but if you are okay, you know, it'll work how God designed it to work. I think about that. The partnership, you know, it says he that finds a wife finds a good thing. That is true. And I was
Yeah.
reading another verse the other day, said that, you know, God gives men favor when they have a wife as well. You know, so think about the blessings that he says to them when they do have that partner right there. Like we are literally their helpmate. You know, it's divine. It is divine, it is anointed, and it's so powerful when we are together and we're walking as one. You know, when we are binded like that, it's like, you know, yeah, two, he is in the midst, and three, it's not easily broken. So like that coming together is everything. It's everything. And the last thing I was thinking about, you know, just priority wise, um, when you do put God first, everything else just falls into place. The word says that, you know, you focus in on me, I'm gonna fix everything else. So you're not gonna have all the answers. Like we're just not. But if we keep our focus planted and anchored in the word, like everything else, it just works out. He'll give you wisdom, discernment, he'll put counselors around you,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like that's the village for me. That's the counselors. You know, he said stay in wise counsel. You know, we have many counselors. Um, and it's food for the soul. Like it's necessary right now. With the world we living in, we need it. We need it so much. So yeah, this was so good for me. So I feel this was an unload for me. Look, I don't get a chance to talk to adults all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not around these kids. I can have a real conversation. That's where I'm going, girl. I'm going. But no, this was food for my spirit. It was. This was so yeah, I love this. I love what you are doing. This is everything. It is
Thank
everything.
you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And thank you for coming on. I do want to give you space, just if you have anything else that you want to say, how to tell people to connect with you in case you are open to that. Because I know that what you create for women, what you're already doing through your company, through your ministry as a wife and a mom and a sister and a daughter, all of that is already in place and speaking volumes, touching lives, changing lives for generations. And so I know people are going to want to connect with you. Your spirit is beautiful, and it is so obvious through this conversation. And I typically, people know me. I'm not a big social media fan. I'm not big on technology, even though I have a tech company. But it's conversations like this that I know would never have been able to have been had. And so in moments like this, during conversations like this, I'm like, this platform was created with purpose. Whether people misuse the platform or not is irrelevant. It is that
Absolutely.
God's word can still go forth, his plan, his purpose, his the way he moves, his
Mhm.
miracles, like those are still being transmitted across the waves and will be forever as long as people like you exist. And so I know people are going to want to connect. That's what I'll say. So let us know, how can we connect? And if you can think of anything, any jewels you want to drop, you already have. So if you have anything else that you want to say to moms, to wives, to husbands, to providers, you shouted out your doula. I'm so grateful for her too, because not a lot of women have your birth story that they've shared, right? But you were able to because you had a little angel by your side. So anything you have, let me know, and then we'll close out.
Absolutely. Chastity May, that's my doula's name. You can find her for sure on Instagram. I'm gonna look right now and tell you her Instagram. She is in the Southern Illinois area, but I know that she does some online stuff too. But her Instagram is Hathor, Hathor underscore doula underscore services. And she has a network of doulas all over. So if she can't service you, she will plug you in with somebody that can. And she has people that lead you all the way through the process too. So she has dietitians in her network, you know, breathing experts in her network, some really cool stuff. She's training right now to be a midwife. So hopefully she passes her test soon so she can be our midwife at home. But yeah, she's amazing. I want to share her with the world. So yes, that's Chastity Mays. You can find me. I would say my website for the staffing and production piece from artists out there or entertainers is danceconnectworldwide.com. And then my email for Queen of Moves is just that. It's Queen, Queen, Dom, that's my name, DOM, Moves, that's the dance piece, MOVES at gmail.com. Queendomoves at gmail.com. You can connect with me directly. Tell me that Catherine sent you so I can know that you come from good company and we can definitely make some things happen. So that's how you can connect with me. And anything I can leave, I would just say, just all praises. Like God is just so good. The Most High is wonderful. And yeah, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for you, for this platform, and for all the mamas out there trying to figure it out. Like you were designed for this. Like we were created and designed for a time like this purpose. Yeah, we are vessels. We are vessels, and we're here to support each other as we figure it out.
Thank you. And thank you so much again for coming on, beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine.
You are so welcome.